My name is Myron Brown. I'm serving as the Executive Director of the International Agency for Chiropractic Evaluation, and it's my role today to give you some background about this organization. I have a lot of depth of experience myself in chiropractic accreditation, having served as an executive officer of the Straight Chiropractic Academic Standards Association, known as SCASA, some years ago, and in more recent times serving on committees for the Council on Chiropractic Education. However, we're starting to develop a new accrediting agency, and I'd like to give you some background about that. The IACE actually began in the year 2000 when a group of Argentinian chiropractors representing the National Association, the Asociación Quiropráctico Argentina, contacted experts in chiropractic education in the United States and asked for assistance in developing proficiency testing for the practicing chiropractors who were developing the profession in Argentina. At that time, we got together with a group of individuals who could form an agency. And what we came up with was their requested proficiency testing, and it was required that these individuals who took the test would first have 5 years of a health science degree. They would also have 650 additional postgraduate hours of training put on by the AQA Association, and they would have documentation of at least 1 full year of clinical practice in vertebral subluxation centered practice. Based on their request, a group of experts in chiropractic education got together and formed the International Agency for Chiropractic Accreditation. Some of these faces are very well known in chiropractic education: a former vice president of Palmer College of Chiropractic, a noted researcher in chiropractic, an individual who's noted in the area of preparing students for testing in national boards, a former college president and prolific author in chiropractic, and other leaders in chiropractic education and regulation. Later on, the IACE was called upon by the FQA, the Foundation to Advance Chiropractic in Argentina, as they were preparing a postgraduate course along with a university that was accredited in Cordoba, Argentina. The Universidad Siglo XXI was requiring at that time that any student wishing to enroll in their accredited postgraduate course leading to a diplomatura in chiropractic would first have to pass the IACE exam. Now, over the intervening years, this exam was given quite a number of times. Later on, it became recognized that the IACE was a body that could be relied upon as an authority on chiropractic education. The next step was in 2012 when the Sustainability Committee, a think tank that's involved in trying to advance vertebral subluxation centered chiropractic, explored what was going on in the profession and were very concerned about the sustainability of the profession. As a result, they came to the inescapable conclusion that the profession was on a path that simply was unsustainable, especially as relates to vertebral subluxation centered practice. They approached the IACE as a result and asked if the IACE might take on this role of an accrediting body for vertebral subluxation centered chiropractic. The IACE board passed a resolution in 2012 accepting that responsibility and began the development of this agency. The mission, or the statement of purpose, reads as follows: to advance vertebral subluxation centered chiropractic by assisting its educational programs to achieve academic excellence. Institutions holding status with IACE have demonstrated a commitment to educational quality and effectiveness, and they have provided both the resources and the ability to look at these programs and improve the quality of education. The IACE board was expanded with people from many parts of the United States and other parts of the world, because after all, this is an international association including both North and South America and Japan. We have individuals from various parts of the level of expertise that you would expect in chiropractic education, including regulation, including testing, and including academia itself. And so a number of people, both representing faculty of educational institutions and the regulatory area, were added to the board, as well as to give it that strong international flavor and perspective that you would expect from an international accrediting body. The plan for IACE is as follows: to have both an accreditation and a certification type of approach, and a self-evaluation process that adds to the quality of the programs that are being put on by the educational institutions. The process itself would be using both efficient and virtual processes to keep cost effectiveness at its highest level, and the process would be qualitative in nature. And by qualitative, that is the cutting edge in the accreditation world today. Rather than counting widgets or counting things that happen on campuses, we look at the outcomes and we drive all the evaluations based on those outcomes. Ultimately, the IACE standards and the IACE approach are always relevant to excellence in vertebral subluxation-centered practice. There's to be two types of status with IACE. One is accreditation, where these institutions would be taken into consideration as a whole. The other would be certification, designed for programs that might also be involved with other areas of study besides vertebral subluxation-centered chiropractic. Accreditation would have three different levels. The first would be full accredited status. The second would be a candidate for accreditation, and then the initial level of correspondence, which we call accreditation applicant. Similarly, the certification process, which might exist for institutions that are already accredited by other agencies, would also have certification, candidate for certification, and applicant status, which is a correspondent status. We've already taken a number of steps, beginning with the election and expansion of the IACE board in order to bring great diversity and capability to the type of organization that's being created here. We have a commission on accreditation and certification that has already been appointed and in place and in the training phases for function. We have contemporary practices having been studied both in the international and the national scope of accreditation, so that we could create documents for function that are appropriate to the most contemporary or cutting edge level of what's going on in accreditation today. There's been an international pool of experts, including people from both the United States and abroad, who are experts in the field of academia as relates to chiropractic, that have been solicited to explore the quality of the documents and to create a validation study of the initial documents. Additionally, the board has approved and authorized the function of IACE with this first set of documents, and a revalidation study would be planned for approximately 3 years from now. The IACE board appointed myself as an initial or temporary executive director as we get the program off the ground, and the IACE has already begun the invitation to existing programs both in the United States and abroad to find out about their interest and to give their opportunity to learn about IACE and have their questions answered. These invitations are pending conversations that are ongoing at this time. This is the Commission on Accreditation. We have individuals who are specialists in accreditation at other agencies that function in the United States. We have people with regulatory and board of directors experience, boards that have served chiropractic colleges, people who are faculty members with academic background at existing chiropractic programs, administrators, regulatory experts. And so you can see that in addition to people who are experts in academia, we also have authors. And so we feel as though we're representing the lay public as well as the academic world in the Commission, which will actually be the body that makes decisions about accreditation. Of course, those decisions are not made by boards of directors, but by the Accrediting Commission itself. Another thing that I thought you might be interested in knowing about is a project that IACE has taken on, being aware that up until now, the accrediting world hasn't really looked at postgraduate training of chiropractors in a serious vein. And so what we've done is we've invited people in the area of chiropractic technique and organizations that are deeply engaged in the training of chiropractors who are already in practice. We've assembled a unique panel of experts who can start to look at what the quality of postgraduate education should be like, and they've begun meeting to talk about this and make recommendations of what standards would look like if we were evaluating postgraduate training of chiropractors. And so what you can see is we've got people from a number of the different well-recognized technique groups, the groups that have never really been asked into the process of accreditation before, as well as organizations, some of them very high profile, some of them not as high profile. And so I'll ask you to please visit the IACE website, internationalchiropractic.org. Ask your questions, contact us, and we look forward to a great experience in the future. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your kind attention.